School of Rock is now in session in Iowa, and we're ready to help make musicians. In our patented performance-based program, students learn music in one-on-one lessons, then have band practice in a fun, safe learning environment, all leading up to their big show. Guitar, bass, piano, drums, and vocals, our local professionals teach the skills you need to be a rock star. Come check us out and get a free lesson with no strings attached. Locations in West Des Moines and Marion. Visit schoolofrock.com to learn more and start your musical journey today.
The morning news on YourIowa.com is brought to you by the Commission on U.S. Territories, striving for equal representation around the globe, and by Keep Iowa First, committed to keeping the Iowa caucuses the first in the nation contest in selecting the presidency of the United States. And now, here's your host, Brent Roske.
Good morning, everybody. Did you have a chance to get outside yesterday? If you live in Iowa, you know that yesterday was the nicest day we've had yet this year. People were going for walks. Iowa was alive. We made it through at least one part of winter. We'll see how it goes. Up on the screen right now, Eleanor Grace will be with us shortly live here from Iowa, talking about this music video, her career in music, the fact that she just passed 500,000 views on the internet watching her music, which is fantastic. So I always want to champion artists, especially Iowa artists on this show. So congratulations to Eleanor Grace. She'll be with us in just a second. Also on today's program, Chris Andersen with the Youth Emergency Shelter and Services. They do fantastic work looking out for Iowa's youth that need some help, need a hand up. So we will be chatting with Mr. Andersen today as well. Friday's program tomorrow. So excited about this, folks. Peter Gabriel and a producer named Sebastian Robertson. Sebastian Robertson is Robbie Robertson's son from the band. Peter Gabriel had an amazing anti-apartheid anthem called Biko. They have re-recorded it. There he is on the screen from that re-recording with singer Angelique Kidjo. She's actually from Benin. Remember we had Bonnie Louise Brown on live from Africa? She was in the country of Benin as well. But they re-recorded Biko with a worldwide orchestra, Yo-Yo Ma and the Cape Town Singers and Japanese drummers and Native American dancers. It's an incredible version. The producer of that, Sebastian Robertson, is going to be on this program tomorrow. That's a special episode that's sponsored by Merkel Retirement Services here in Des Moines. But just couldn't be more excited about tomorrow's program. So definitely want to tune in for that. If you missed yesterday, it's posted. It'll actually be posted in a little bit. We're archiving all the episodes from this week today around noon. But yesterday's program, there it is. There's Catherine Harrington. She is the president of the West Des Moines Chamber of Commerce. They tweeted, "Thanks for having our fearless leader on your program." We had a great chat about West Des Moines. West Des Moines is one of those cities where once you spend some time here, really, you find out that, I call West Des Moines one of the easiest places in America to live. Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, all the stuff like that, but some great houses, and we love it here. So we'll be posting that episode shortly. I told you about the Holston House, speaking of real estate, that's for sale here in Iowa. You can buy this puppy for $179,000. What's interesting is a former Holston house that he lived in New York City a couple years ago. Tom Ford actually bought it. And it was when Halston, the famous designer who grew up here in Des Moines, in that house, he used to bring folks there like Liza Minnelli and Warhol, not to that house, but the one in New York City. Guess how much the Halston house in New York City sold to Tom Ford? Guess how much? $38 million. So you can buy another Halston house here in Des Moines for a fraction. Tom Ford, actually, good guy. I spent the day with him doing the Vanity Fair Hollywood issue a million years ago. 1.6 million years ago. Anyway, so good for Tom Ford. If you're watching the news yesterday, SpaceX, I love talking about intergalactic travel. One of the reasons is mostly it's a nonpartisan issue. It's something we can all get behind. So what is SpaceX trying to do? They're trying to create a spaceship that can go up and come back. So this is, they're calling this the Starship rocket. It took a 6-mile, well, it was up for 6 miles up over Texas last night. It descended over the Gulf of Mexico. It flipped upright just in time to land. They said success. They killed the web stream. And then here's how the AP describes it. Then the Starship exploded and was tossed into the air before slamming down into the ground in flames. Elon Musk tweeted, the Starship 10 landed in one piece, which is a success. But then he said, RIP Spaceship 10, an honorable discharge. What they're trying to do is they're trying to create a ship like this that'll take people to the moon and to Mars. So, definite progress there, but some some distance to go. We mentioned Harry Belafonte had a birthday on Monday. On Friday, just last week, we had his daughter Gina. They talking about Sankofa.org, an amazing social justice group that they work on together. Harry Belafonte's birthday party was streamed, and boy, the guests, folks, Alfre Woodard, Common, Jay-Z, it was just fantastic. So I'm going to be talking to them about putting clips up from that birthday party. Fantastic. Folks, we're going to take a quick little break, and then we'll be back on with Eleanor Grace live here from Iowa. We'll be right back.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and crazy cool vibes. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
Folks, welcome back. And there she is, live from Iowa, Eleanor Grace. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
So I showed your video, Lighthouse. You have many videos, but I showed it a couple days ago, and it was filmed by the amazing Bruce Bales. He's an incredible visual artist here in Iowa. But so you just passed, am I getting this right? You just passed 500,000 streams. Is that right?
Yep, on Spotify.
That's folks, those are big numbers. I mean, this program, I'm certainly proud of our viewership, but it's nothing like that. So when did you start your music being published on the internet? How long has your journey been to 500,000 streams?
The song came out about 2 years ago. It was like May 2019, I think. It's been about 2 years, and the song got put on the playlist that's been providing most of its streams in October of 2019, right before I turned 16. So it's been a while.
So, starting young is a good idea in the entertainment industry, and you're not letting any moss grow under your feet. So you started early. Obviously, you must have a support. What do friends and family think about what you're doing?
I have the best support system. Both of my parents are incredibly supportive, more than you could ever imagine. And I think my friends think it's fun. I think for some people it's kind of weird, but everyone's so supportive. And so
what, I don't know, are you still in high school or where are we at right now?
Yeah. I'm doing both my junior and senior year right now. I'm graduating a year early through Des Moines Virtual Campus, which is a new online initiative. So I'll be graduating in May.
My goodness. And then, so you'll be graduated, with something like this. I mean, a lot of folks say, well, I'm a singer, well, I'm a screenwriter, I'm a filmmaker, but you actually have the goods. You've got some great videos and some really well-produced songs. It definitely radio worthy. What are your plans for after graduation? Are you going to be heading to a coast or have you thought that far?
Well, right now the plan is to just take a gap year. I'm going to stay in Iowa and see what happens. My music is really big in Germany, so who knows if I'll have plans to move there in the future. But I do have one single coming out next week, March 12th. So that's kind of the only thing on my horizon right now.
A friend of mine is David Hasselhoff, and he says, "Oh, my music's big in Germany." If you ever watch the New Year's special of David Hasselhoff singing in Germany, blocks and blocks and blocks of people there. They're incredible videos. But well, that sounds fantastic. Congratulations on all that. And folks, we've been talking about our music. We want you to hear some of it. And then after that, we're going to have Chris Andersen on the program with the Youth Emergency Shelter and Services. But let's take a look at Eleanor Grace's hit single. I'm going to call it a hit single. I say 500,000 streams. It's a hit single. Lighthouse, filmed right here in Iowa by Bruce Bales. And Eleanor, thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's take a look, folks.
It's late at night, looking washed out and faded, straight out of a Parker's painted, and I feel right. Damn, you look jaded, like you've been about 7 years famous, crashing away. I wanna say.
Boy, that is a great song. Congratulations to her and her team and the production. It takes a whole group of folks to get something like that, but obviously Eleanor Grace, incredibly talented. Folks, we're going to take a quick break with a message from the United Nations. As you know, we have a partnership with the United Nations. They were just on last week live from Guatemala. And we're going to have them on from Syria next in just a couple weeks. But here's a short message they sent, and then we'll be back with the Youth Emergency Shelter and Services. Don't go anywhere. Folks, welcome back to the program. And there they are. Chris, if you want to scooch over a little bit, it looks like I've got, it's a tricky thing.
There we go.
And folks, I see we've got Angie is with us as well, Angie Weiss. And I've got the graphic says Chris there, Youth Emergency Service and Shelter. Thank you both for being on the program. How's your day going so far?
Fantastic.
It is pretty early, but it's pretty great.
Well, we're so grateful that you're on the program. So, folks, I have a television show called Roske on Politics that during election cycles, I'm on usually the local ABC affiliate here and then other affiliates elsewhere. And I had the good fortune of going down to your facility, well, a couple years back and interviewed you and one of the folks that was in town speaking. But why don't you tell folks about what YESS does?
Angie, do you want to take that?
Yeah, well, YES's mission is to protect children by empowering families, and we do that in so many ways. What we're most known for is our shelter. We have the largest shelter in the state of Iowa, which is we can house 35 kids in a day. But we have a very robust community-based services, which serve 700 families every single month. And the reason we have such a large community-based service is so that we can prevent kids from going into the shelter, because coming into shelter is pretty traumatic for the kids.
And it's so interesting. I mean, kind of in a larger sense, the purpose of this, though, is your shelter specifically for kids, right? If they find themselves, in a need where they need to go somewhere, you're a place they can go to. Is that right?
Absolutely.
And a little bit about the background. How long's it been going? What's the staff like? Why don't you tell folks that, where did it begin?
Chris, you want to go for that one?
Sure. It actually started in 1973, Brent. It was Iowa Runaway Youth. And back then, things have changed quite a bit in nearly 50 years. And we've adapted to the times during that time period. We moved into our current building back in the early 90s. It originally started off with 2 homes, literally homes over near the Drake neighborhood, to be able to provide shelter for kids that were leaving home because their conditions were less than favorable, to put it nicely. And then we've adapted, and now obviously we've expanded not just shelter services, but also the community-based services that serve so much more than what we do just within the 4 walls that we've got.
And how long have you folks been with the organization?
I started back in October, right about the same time as Chris.
I started, I think, 2 weeks before she did. So
is it, you look at that history, obviously this problem isn't going away. In a larger sense, though, how is Iowa doing? Is pandemic making things more difficult? How is it? How are things affecting the youth of Iowa right now?
The pandemic definitely has cause for changes, but the whole culture here is pivot, and we've done a lot of pivoting in the last year. We've been really fortunate. We have very high level infection control, so we've never had any spread among the youth for COVID. So we've been very fortunate. And then on the services side, we've really had to switch a lot to telehealth. So we provide telehealth therapy if a family is ill, if a family's not comfortable coming in, or if they're on quarantine.
So if we just had Eleanor Grace on, and a lot of her fans here in Iowa are young people. If one of them is in a challenging situation and are looking for some help, what should they do? What would you like them to know?
Chris, you want that?
We actually have 24-hour access through our access center, and we have information on our website that would be much more in depth than I could possibly cover here. And it allows them and also their family, because when we talk about kids, it's also families in crisis too. So oftentimes we'll actually have the guardian or the parents call because they need some assistance, not just the kids themselves. So it's not limited to just someone under the age of 18 to call us and get help and get the services they need.
In 2020, we had 1,293 crisis calls, and our phone line is answered 24 hours a day. And what we'll do if it's a kid in crisis, or we have a parent who just cannot seem to figure out, they're at an impasse. So we can do a telehealth therapy appointment and figure out, okay, what do we need right here to calm this crisis down so everyone can stay in the home.
And Brent, to add to the changes that we've experienced, especially on my side of the house, figuratively at least, in philanthropy, we're so fortunate to have such a huge outpouring of support, not just financially, but most importantly, for volunteers. And you experienced that a couple years ago. And the corporate groups that come in and help us in many different ways, and the individuals who come in and help us in different ways, we haven't been able to do that. we're excited. We're looking forward to the days where we can actually get volunteers back in the building, because that means a lot. It has the opportunity for the kids to be able to interact with adults, and see what life can be like outside of crisis. And the other challenge too is we've seen numbers decline through shelter, and looking at it just out of context, like fantastic, there's less need for shelter. But one of the challenges we've had is with kids not being in school, we don't have mandatory reporters as prevalent as we've had to see the issues and to bring the issues to light. So when school gets back to normalcy, whatever that may end up being, possibly August, where there's more and more kids in school, we could possibly see a huge spike. I would love nothing better than to be wrong in that, but there's a real possibility for that.
You mentioned families. We have a little one. She's not quite at the area that she'll be needing your support at this time. She's just about to turn 3. But the point I'm making is, when you have kids, you realize that it takes a whole group. It takes a team. And I think what I'm hearing is that you folks are a resource when families get into trouble and might need an extra set of ears and some coaching and some counseling. Is a lot of times that you can offer a lot of help on the phone and telehealth and all that sort of thing. So for instance, what are some of the situations, just to really give people the tools they need, that if they're facing X, Y, or Z, that they could say, you know what, maybe I should call these folks and ask for some help?
If there is, there's certainly times when you're just noticing in the school they're struggling a lot. And so that's something that you can wrap around to our integrated health home community-based services. And that's where we're going to be in contact with you and provide you parent support, and we're going to provide your kid support, and we're going to provide you therapy, both in home and out of home, on a continual basis. And we can continue that until you're 18. If it's something more of just right now, you guys are at an impasse, that's a great time to use our Access Center crisis line. Or if there's a situation where there's a runaway or a kid needs to get out of the home for a safe place for a couple days, that's something that you can, again, give our Access Center a call, and we'll see if it's appropriate for you to come into shelter.
It's so interesting, pandemic with the lockdown, obviously kids spending more time at home, learning at home, that, we don't have that release of pressure that we used to. The kid goes to school or the parent goes into work, a lot of folks working from home. Have you seen that exacerbating some of these issues?
Chris, you want to go?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at these situations and we use the word crisis, and obviously there's a reason why we have services before shelter in our name, but before that is emergency. And that things can get to a boiling point. But you look at situations where home life is in crisis. If someone's going to school and parents are going to work, that crisis is limited to the evening, maybe late afternoon. But now with the kids at home, the parents or the family members or their family environment, everyone is home. It no longer has a boiling point after 5 hours. We're talking 12, 15 hours together, which can be extremely stressful, let alone the fact of all the other factors of furloughs, unemployment, not being familiar with how to be able to go to class online. All those things just add to it that much more.
And just so young people know, once they're in your shelter, if I remember right, only young people are allowed, right? Or staff, is that right? So they have a safe place.
Yes. Yep. To enter our shelter, it's anywhere from 0 to 17. At your 18th birthday, we're going to help find some adult services for you.
So why don't you tell people a website and phone number?
Well, our phone number is 515-282-9377. You can call that 24 hours a day just to ask, here's what's going on in my life. What can you do to help me? And our website is www.yessiowa.org.
Chris and Angie are real life superheroes doing amazing work. So thank you both for being on the program today.
Brent, thank you. It was a pleasure.
We're going to take a quick break, folks, and then be back with more of the program.
School of Rock is now in session in Iowa, and we're ready to help make musicians. In our patented performance-based program, students learn music in one-on-one lessons, then have band practice in a fun, safe learning environment, all leading up to their big show. Guitar, bass, piano, drums, and vocals, our local professionals teach the skills you need to be a rock star. Come check us out and get a free lesson with no strings attached. Locations in West Des Moines and Marion. Visit schoolofrock.com to learn more and start your musical journey today.
Folks, thank you so much for tuning in today. Eleanor Grace, there's her video again, and we're gonna show the whole song here in a little bit. I think it's a great song. I love listening to it. Tomorrow, folks, you're gonna want to tune in for this the re-recording of Peter Gabriel's legendary song "Biko." Stephen Biko was an anti-apartheid activist. Spent 533 days in South African prison, and with no charges, no trial, and was sadly killed in prison. And his death sparked an even more worldwide outrage against apartheid. Peter Gabriel wrote this song "Biko" back then. It was around 1980 he released it, but recently music producer Sebastian Robertson has decided to re-record it. Sebastian Robertson is Robbie Robertson's son, Robbie Robertson of the band. And Playing for Change is the group. And there's Peter Gabriel on screen with Beninese singer Angelique Kidjo. Joining them in this re-recording is Yo-Yo Ma and the Cape Town Singers and Japanese drummers and Native American dancers. It is fantastic. And we're going to talk to Sebastian Robertson tomorrow on this program about that project. And that's actually brought to us by Merkel Retirement Services here in Des Moines. They are sponsoring tomorrow's program, so very grateful to them. And next week, we've just got more entertainers and journalists, and we're so grateful that you are tuning in and watching this program. Let's take one more look at the whole video for Lighthouse by Eleanor Grace, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow for Sebastian Robertson. I'll see you then.